I was born in the crimson light of Antares, the heart of the Scorpion, where stars are not merely distant suns but living entities that breathe through us. We Antarians do not experience birth the way humans do. We emerge, fully formed in spirit, from the resonance fields of our homeworld, molded by fire, memory, and vibration. Our planet, known to your astronomers only as a speck lost near the massive star Antares, is not visible in the way your eyes perceive matter. It exists slightly out of phase, a shimmering realm where energy and form dance together like flame and smoke, never truly separate. Our bodies are tall and radiant, not bound by fixed flesh, but composed of luminous plasma woven with mineral frequency. We are bipedal, yes, but we are not human. Our skin shifts hue depending on our inner alignment, sometimes a deep bronze like sun-warmed stone, sometimes translucent like amber holding a living ember inside. We possess eyes not meant merely for sight but for scanning energetic fields, absorbing memory from all that is alive, and interpreting emotional frequency as clearly as you would read a book. Our hair, if you can call it that, moves like strands of charged aurora. It is alive, responsive, and often used as an external sensory network. We do not speak with mouths, though we have them, for our native language is vibrational, encoded in frequency and resonance. When we communicate, it is not just with words, but with whole stories pressed into single pulses of energy. An Antarian can look at you and know the grief you carry, the dreams you've hidden, the reasons you fear the dark. Life on Antares was never simple. It was not peaceful like the floating cities of Lyra, nor as regimented as the crystalline empires of Sirius. Ours was a civilization forged in trials. Antares is a volatile star, and our planet bears the same temperament. Tectonic firestorms, pressure shifts in atmosphere, unpredictable radiation waves, these forces shaped our evolution. We became beings of adaptability, of endurance, of fire. But we also became fierce defenders of balance. Antarian society does not rule through hierarchy or political theater. We honor the strength of the will, the clarity of purpose, and the depth of heart. Our elders, whom you might call flame keepers, are not chosen by age but by how brightly they burn. The more you've transmuted shadow into light within yourself, the more respected your flame becomes. We believe evolution is not upward but inward. We teach our young not to fear the darkness but to enter it, and find the ember within. We do not fight demons. We walk beside them until they surrender. The Antarian temples are not places of worship, but of remembrance. Built from living obsidian that hums with memory, each temple is a mirror of one's inner fire. Step into one and it will show you who you are, who you have been, and who you are afraid to become. Many Antarians spend lifetimes returning to their temple, not to seek salvation, but to keep refining the flame that guides them. Though we are often seen as warriors in galactic memory, war was not our nature. Conflict found us because we burned so brightly that darker forces sought to extinguish us, or harness us. And we did fight. Not with rage but with radiance. Not with conquest but with unwavering clarity. You must understand, light does not scream when it enters darkness. It simply shines. So why have I come here? Why has a child of Antares chosen to incarnate in human form, bound by density, forgetfulness, and limitation? Because Earth is trembling. Not in body, though the quakes do come, but in soul. I felt the cry ripple through the star fields. A cry not of fear but of longing. Millions of human hearts have forgotten the fire inside them, the ancient memory of what it means to burn with purpose, with courage, with truth. The collective flame is dimming, and that is dangerous. You see, when light forgets itself, it invites shadow not as an enemy but as a teacher. And shadow is not kind. That is why I volunteered, yes, we choose, to fall into the amnesia of Earth's matrix. I do not recall my name in your terms, but my frequency signature was once known as a guardian of convergence. One who walks between worlds to restore balance. In this lifetime I was born in a human body, fragile, forgetful, hungry for meaning. I did not remember who I was for many years. I wandered, I rebelled, I suffered. And slowly, the fire returned. Not all at once but in flickers. Through music, dreams, storms, silence. I began to feel what you might call the calling. Not to save but to remember, and help others remember. The hardest part of coming here was not the density of your world, the weight of gravity, the sharpness of emotion, the dissonance of thought, but the silence. In Antares, everything sings. The rocks, the trees, the very air vibrates in harmony with your core. Every step you take is echoed by the planet's heartbeat. You are never alone because everything responds to you, and through that response you remember who you are. But here, on Earth, the silence is not peaceful. It is the silence of forgetting, of separation. I could no longer hear this song. I was born into a family that could not feel me. I cried often as a child, not because I was in pain but because the world felt so cold, so asleep. The flame inside me dimmed. Like many starseeds, I went through what you might call a dark night of the soul. But it was not just one night. It was years. Years of not fitting in. Years of pretending. Years of wondering why I felt everything so deeply when everyone else seemed numb. I was told I was too intense, too quiet, too strange, too sensitive. But in truth I was just remembering. You must understand, Antarians are trained to find the ember of truth even in ruins. So when my life here began to collapse, when the career failed, the relationships cracked, the identity shattered, a voice within me whispered, "Now you're ready." Ready for what? For remembrance. It began in dreams. I saw temples that burned but never crumbled. I saw hands made of light reaching toward earth. I saw a younger version of myself staring into obsidian waters, whispering in a language I couldn't recall, but felt in my bones. I returned to meditation. Not to escape but to listen. And slowly the vibrations came back. Not in sound but in sensation. I would walk through a forest and feel the trees responding again. I would sit in stillness and feel the flicker of my original flame returning, guiding. I began to meet others like me, not by accident but by resonance. We found each other. Eyes that held memory. Words that felt like home. And through them I remembered my mission. You see, Antarians are not saviors. We do not come to rescue. That is a distortion. We come as igniters, carriers of sacred fire. Our purpose is to awaken the flame within those ready to carry it themselves. We light sparks in hearts that have gone cold, and we do it not through preaching but through presence. Some of us work through art, turning emotion into vibration. Some of us work through energy, aligning the broken grids of your planet. Some work through silence, anchoring light in places too fragile to be seen. Me. I speak, not to impress but to remind. Words carry frequency. And when spoken from flame they do not just inform, they transform. Now I speak not just as one who remembers, but as one who sees. I see the flames returning to the eyes of the people. Slowly but surely. I see children born with memories still fresh, looking up at the stars not with curiosity, but with recognition. I see artists painting symbols they've never studied. Healers placing their hands over hearts and drawing forth grief they've never lived. I see the earth trembling, not with fear but with the labor pains of something ancient being reborn. This is why we came. Not to change the world by force, but to anchor a frequency so precise, so steady, that when the time came the sleepers would stir. We do not bring light to earth. Earth has always had its own light. We bring remembrance, the spark that reminds a candle it was born to burn. And now humanity stands on a precipice. You feel it? I know you do. The systems around you are breaking, not because of failure but because they are too small for who you are becoming. Education that does not teach the soul. Medicine that does not speak to the root. Politics that serve illusion instead of life. All of it is collapsing under the weight of your collective awakening. There is fear. Of course there is. But the fear is not a signal to retreat, it is the call to rise. Antarians are no strangers to thresholds. We live through our own burning. There were times in our history when we thought the flame would go out forever. When shadow ruled and even our own forgot what we stood for. But from that darkness we chose to burn brighter. And so will you. Many of us have returned not just once but many times. Across timelines. Through different names and roles. We have been teachers, mystics, revolutionaries, outcasts, and simple quiet souls planting seeds where no one thought they'd grow. Some of us will never be recognized. Some will never go viral or write books or build movements. And that is okay. Because the flame does not need applause. It only needs to burn. So, if you are hearing this, and something within you stirs, this message is for you. If you have ever felt like you were born out of time. If you have ever gazed at the stars and ached without knowing why. If you have ever burned with a desire to heal, to build, to speak, to protect, even when no one asked you to, then maybe, just maybe, you are one of us. Not an Antarian necessarily, but a soul who chose Earth on purpose. A soul who knew that this moment in history, this chaotic, trembling, luminous moment, would be the time you return to your flame. You don't need to know your planet of origin. You don't need a label. You only need to listen. Because the fire is speaking. Always. It hums in the silence between breaths. It flickers behind your eyes when you dare to dream. It sings in the tears you cry when no one's watching. It knows who you are. And it is time you did too. So from one flame to another, I see you. I remember you. And I welcome you back to the fire.